A very good evening and a very warm welcome to State of Business on our television. I'm Savindri Jayawardena. Let's look at the top stories for the day. National governance comes under scrutiny. International Monetary Fund seeks to recapitalize banking system. News in detail. Concerns such as financial control, anti-corruption measures and adherence to the rule of law require a significant emphasis on the accountability of public officials. This was expressed by Sagala Ratnayaka, the senior advisor to the President on National Security and the Chief of the Presidential Staff, during a meeting with the International Monetary Fund. During the meeting, the representatives of the International Monetary Fund appreciated the Sri Lankan government's efforts in addressing the existing problem and properly assessing the current situation. They also emphasized the significance of working with dedication in financial management and implementing new economic reforms. The representatives stressed that it is crucial to prioritize new reform programs rather than dwelling on past mistakes. They also highlighted the importance of exploring the support that the International Monetary Fund can offer to address the challenges in various fields and to prioritize reform efforts accordingly. Mahinda Siriwardana, the Secretary of the Ministry of Finance, emphasized the crucial role of new economic reforms in propelling the country forward. He stated that public financial reforms and other related areas will be prioritized to effectively address the issues in the financial management sector. During the meeting, the heads of government institutions involved in the process shared their perspectives. Sagala Ratnayaka reiterated the significance of convening such meetings in the future to monitor the progress of relevant programs and obtain reports. He stressed the need for the commitment of all heads of government institutions to ensure the success of these activities. Governance in Sri Lanka has come under scrutiny from the International Monetary Fund. IMF says anti-corruption and governance reforms are absolutely necessary to ensure hard-won gains. The International Monetary Fund said recently that Sri Lanka will be the first Asian country to go through a governance diagnostic exercise done as a part of the $2.9 billion extended fund facility given by the multilateral lender. Its objective being to examine the severity of corruption in the island nation and identify key governance weaknesses and corruption vulnerabilities, and also to assess the adequacy of the anti-corruption framework and policies which are needed to address corruption vulnerabilities in Sri Lanka. IMF's Mission Chief for Sri Lanka, Masahiru Nozaki, said this at an online briefing from Washington, D.C. and he said that the diagnostic will be on IMF's core issues. By September end this year, the IMF will publish the report of the Governance Diagnostic Technical Assistance Mission to assess Sri Lanka's anti-corruption framework. Nozaki said this is an important milestone in the IMF's program and the exercise has already started in cooperation with the government and engagements include the civil society. IMF's Senior Mission Chief for Sri Lanka, Peter Breyer, at the briefing emphasized the importance of anti-corruption and governance reforms as a central pillar of the EFF-supported program. He said that the Sri Lankan authorities have committed to fundamentally improve public financial management and strengthen the anti-corruption legal framework in line with the United States Convention Against Corruption. In addition, the IMF is conducting an in-depth governance diagnostic exercise. This exercise will assess corruption and governance vulnerabilities in Sri Lanka. Through this exercise, the International Monetary Fund aims to provide prioritized and sequenced recommendations. As per the agreement entered into with the IMF, Sri Lanka by end June 2023 must enact new anti-corruption legislation. This legislation should harmonize it with the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. This legislation will include strengthening the asset declaration system in accordance with the G20 high-level principles on asset disclosure by public officials. This will include coverage of officials and reporting standards. The legislation will create an anti-corruption commission vested with the authority and strengthen independence for investigations. The draft legislation, which does not cover comprehensive asset recovery provisions, is currently under review by a review committee before final approval by the Cabinet. A transparent and merit-based process for selecting members of the Independent Commission will also be integrated explicitly into this legislation. Comprehensive asset recovery provisions in compliance with the UNCAC standard are expected to be developed in consultation with IMF staff. This will be incorporated into a separate draft legislation pertaining to proceeds of crime by March 2024. Stay tuned, we'll be right back after a short commercial break.
වයිකම් ටෙලිස් 2022 වසරේ ජනප්‍රියතම ටෙලිනාට්‍ය නළුවා අද දිනට ප්‍රතිඵල. වසරේ ජනප්‍රියතම ටෙලිනාට්‍ය නිලිය අද දිනට ප්‍රතිඵල.
Welcome back after the break. The International Monetary Fund points out that its program envisages measures to adequately recapitalize the banking system of our country. To achieve this, Sri Lanka will have to devise a plan considering the possibility of domestic debt restructuring. Local banks so far have vehemently opposed domestic debt restructuring as the endeavour would result in a serious erosion of their capital. Although not affirming the domestic debt restructuring will become a reality, the IMF in its staff report urges that a banking system recapitalization plan be prepared. The IMF estimates the banking sector recapitalization requirement at 6% of 2022 GDP. The fund asserted that maintaining a sound and adequately capitalized banking system as well as addressing banking sector vulnerabilities is crucial to safeguarding financial stability. The IMF staff report pointed out that efforts to strengthen financial supervision and crisis management framework are crucial to enhance resilience and prepare Sri Lanka's financial system for time of stress. A diagnostic exercise, including a comprehensive asset quality review, is currently underway for 9 major banks. The central bank has hired 2 internationally reputable independent specialist firms to conduct this exercise. To support the diagnostic exercise, the authorities will provide the accessors with guidance on the expected impact of the debt restructuring. By July 2023, the central bank is to finalize a roadmap for financial sector restructuring and recapitalization to address capital and forex liquidity shortfalls and to intervene in banks' assets to be non-viable. By October 2023, the government is expected to determine conditions for the use of public funds to support the roadmap and to close capital shortfalls at viable banks. In the meantime, Sri Lanka has welcomed over 70,000 tourists during the first 19 days of this month, showing the growth momentum of the year. As per the data of Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, a total of 76,247 tourists have already arrived in the country during the first 19 days of the month, pushing the year-to-date figure to 286,431 so far. Arrival figures are largely influenced by the growing traveller confidence, aggressive tourism promotions, continued service from more international airlines, and the French women's adventure trial Raid Amazons. The participants of the adventure trial Raid Amazons 2023 recently arrived at Bandar Naik International Airport from Paris. Sri Lankan Airlines is the presenting partner of Raid Amazons and extended a warm welcome with a traditional flair to the arriving group. Raid Amazons is the world's only itinerant women's adventure race. Nearly 250 female athletes will be participating in the 21st edition of the trial in Kandy. The boost in arrivals was largely influenced by the Russian tourists maintaining the lead ahead of India. For the first time after 2019, Sri Lanka tourism recorded over 100,000 tourist arrivals in 2 consecutive months of 2023. February 2023 recorded a post-COVID all-time high of 107,639, breaking the previous record of 106,500 tourists in March 2022. The influx of Russians places it to remain as the top tourist source market for Sri Lanka year to date. Tourism earnings in the first 2 months of 2023 were at $331.7 million, reflecting a 3.3% increase from the corresponding period of last year. February earnings stood at $169.9 million as per the latest central bank data. Ambassador Julie Chang recently announced the arrival of 770 metric tons of fortified rice and 100 metric tons of fortified vegetable oil. This was organized through the U.S. Department of Agriculture Foreign Agriculture Service McGovern-Dole Food for Education program. Since 2021, USDA Food Aid has provided protein supplements using yellow split peas and Alaskan pink salmon to over 95,000 children in 835 primary schools distributed over 7 districts. Ambassador Chang made the announcement during a visit to the Guru Aragam Primary School to observe a school feeding program supported by the United States government assistance. The U.S. also supported construction of new latrines at the school. In partnership with Save the Children and alongside the Sri Lankan government and local communities, USDA FAS is implementing the Promoting Autonomy, Literacy and Attentiveness through Market Alliances project in Sri Lanka. This $27.5 million initiative began providing food shipments at the height of the pandemic and will be completed this year. The project, which includes monitoring and oversight provisions, improves literacy and nutrition while reducing short-term hunger of school-aged children. More broadly, the United States government has provided food assistance to nearly 2 million Sri Lankan school children over the past year. This year marked the 75th anniversary of U.S.-Sri Lankan diplomatic relations, a rich history defined by the people-to-people relationships, the progress achieved together, and the close partnership that will assist Sri Lankans to build a brighter future. Stay tuned for stock updates.
වයිකම් ටෙලිස් 2022 වසරේ ජනප්‍රියතම ටෙලිනාට්‍ය නළුවා අද දිනට ප්‍රතිඵල. වසරේ ජනප්‍රියතම ටෙලිනාට්‍ය නිලිය අද දිනට ප්‍රතිඵල.
IWS Aviation.
Welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a negative note today. The all-share price index dropped 131.07 points to close at 9,395.98. and the S&P SL20 dropped 45.33 points to close at 2,722.94. The turnover was over 3 billion rupees and over 164 million shares were traded. Up next are Forex rates. With that, we'll be signing out for today. Take care and good night.
State of Business was sponsored by